Hi guys, Uncle Bob here again today, and if you hear Chris from Tamiya Talk RC on the TV, it's because I got him playing, and this is in response. He had a concern about, actually he was working on a BZ, a Tamiya Super Stock BZ motor. Well, the TZ is basically the same thing, and he thought about doing a water break-in. I don't recommend water break-ins, only because water is corrosive or abrasive, and last I knew, water and electricity don't mix, which is true. But I mean, people have been doing it for many years with RC motors, but on the Tamiya motors, his concern was more so the chip, and that just pops right out if you wanted to do the water dip. You know, and then you could sit there and stick it in the water, break in the brushes, take your cleaner, spray it out, use a compressor to help dry it if you want. But I'm going to go a little farther, and in case you're wondering, this is an RPM engine maintenance stand. You can still get these. We'll get into that in a minute, but what I want to do is I want to take this down a little bit more, and first thing you want to do is you want to pull brush springs out, pull your brushes completely out. Now this is like my 9th time making this video, and I don't know if you can see, but the brushes are just barely fully seated on the com, because I've ran this motor several times for a while. So but okay, once you get your brushes out, what you want to do then is, if I could find the screwdriver, there it is. You can loosen up these end bell screws just a little bit. You don't want to take them completely out of the lock ring. Believe me, that's a pain in the butt, but you do want to get them down enough to where you could push the screws back in, so you could get the lock tab off and rotate to pull it off. Oh, see, that one screw came off all the way. See? Lock ring came out. Alright, so let me get that back into place here real quick. Won't take me a second. There we go. Okay, once you pull your end bell off, please take note that inside there may be a shim, and there is. Yeah, no bush. There's the bushing, no other shim. That's the shim. Okay, so keeping that in order, end bell, shim. Now there's probably going to be some shims on the output shaft. So what I do is I take a hex driver or something, and I push in on the shaft, the output shaft itself, straight through. What you don't want to do is grab the com. And from my previous video, I could see where I was doing something, and I hit the com, and now it's got little dents in it, so I'm gonna have to true that up. All right, well, with that said, don't touch the com with your fingers, because then you're just gonna have to clean it off again. You want to keep it as dry and smooth as possible. But inside the can, for the output, there's one. And there's the other, it's kind of stuck in there. There it is. There it goes. Okay, so, oh, the reason why you want to pull your brushes completely out is this fiber washer. Forget the actual name of it. Forgive me, it's only like 7 o'clock in the morning here. This fiber washer, if they break, they're very hard to get. It's a non-conductive material, because if it's up against the segments on the com, which is 3 in this case, you'll short it out. You don't want that. So there's your breakdown of the internal parts. Always try to keep your shims in the right place. Then what you could do is you could take your spray, your cleaner. Don't use WD-40. WD-40 is flammable. You don't believe me? Spray a little bit and let it on fire. And not to mention it leaves a residue. Dry clean motor is going to be a happier motor. You take your cleaner, spray it down, get all the crap out of it. Take your oiler, whatever type you're using, as long as it's a very light, thin oil. I like lubing it on the inside, because if I do it on the inside, then guess what? Just one little drop, it's barely a drop. That way when you put it back together, the oil's up on the shaft and it goes around the whole inside diameter circle. Okay, so once you get your can cleaned off and sprayed out and dried off, take your com, spray that down, so forth with your end bell. Put your shims back on. Okay, I like to hold it upright like this. Take my can, line up. I'm trying to do this so I can see. Line up the shaft and just let it go. If you have the shims on the output shaft, as you try to put it in, they're not going to slide around and get caught up and come off and get jammed up inside there. So that's a good trick right there. It's old school. People like to use sandpaper to clean off their coms. If you're going to use sandpaper, at least 6,000 to 8,000 grit with very light pressure. Old school trick. You know those triangular shaped erasers that come on pencils, like the green and red ones? Those slip over the com, and you could use that to clean them off. Another old school tip for you guys. If you're in a pinch, they actually help polish it. I took this off. You don't have to, but I took it off. Just be very careful with that, because like I said, if you break them, they're hard to find. At least here in the States, they're hard to find. Damn it. There we go. All right. Got that shim back on. And normally, when I take a motor apart, I'll show you on a different motor. Now what I gotta do is I gotta find that locking tab, which is right here. Try to hold these screws down with my finger and my thumb, and there's the tab on the can. Line it up and drop it in. There are 4 indentations for that lock ring. What you want to do is you want to get it close to where you need it to be to drop it in. The other thing is you don't have to go crazy tightening up these end bell screws. I've seen people crank them so bad that the lock ring inside, whether it be steel or alloy like this one, they bend. And when they bend, it's hard to do maintenance on it, because now they're pulled up because of the tabs. They're locked in place. And what they do is they'll bend inside the can, so you either can't get the end bell out without taking the screws out, which is a pain in the ass, because then you got to try to maneuver that ring out, and then you got to try to flatten it out again. You don't have to take it out. Reinstall your brushes, your brush springs. All right, come on, get on there. There we go. All right, number 2. Yeah. Yeah. So go check out Chris's channel over there. He's a good dude. Got a lot of Tamiya stuff. All right. So now I'm going to take my RPM motor stand. I'll put my motor in there. As you can see, I got my power supply set at 3 volts, 9 amps. Put this on there. Put this on here. Let's see if it starts up. There we go. It runs no problem. And I didn't even put the capacitor chip back in. So this RPM stand, it comes with two stands. One, you could have a slave motor. You could take your other motor. Comes with the tube. You push the tube together. You could power one to spin the other one that you want to use to break in the brushes. You can, yeah, you can, like I showed you before, you can have it sit like this. You can put your motor in there for working on it. If you have it the other way, it's just a good little stand. If you're, I can't use this one as an example because I don't want to. Problem with it is the screws in the inside are metal, and if you screw it down onto the label, it's going to leave a mark. So I usually have a piece of cardboard that you can probably see all the screw marks on there just to clamp it down. But you can clamp it in. You could sit there and you could solder on leads without holding the motor, trying to use the old plier handle trick with a rubber band. Done there, done that. Yes, the motor will run without this chip. It's just a noise suppressor for like the old AM radios, AM and FM radios. Pretty much non-essential these days, but it's a very simple thing. For motors, unlike the Tamiya Super Stocks that have the lock timing with the tab and the notch in the can, let me, where is it? There it is. Let me grab this one. This is my old Trinity Speed Gems 2 quartz. This here does not have locked timing, so this is completely fully adjustable. I'm pulling the brushes out just to show you. Different screwdriver. You got those tabs there, or end bell screw there, end bell screw here. What I do is I give them a couple of turns and then I push them down with the screwdriver. That loosens up the lock ring. And the other thing that you noticed when I picked this up and I put it in my hand, I had the label facing me, and that tells me that the positive is going to be facing the nook here between my thumb and finger. And that's just how I do it. I always put positive there. That way I always know where it's at. So you can take that, now that you loosened it up, pull the end, oop, that shim came off. All right, see, that one's a little different. And it looks all the same. This is going to be a 19 double. The Tamiya is a 23 single. Power-wise, they're close to the same. Other than this one here has bearings instead of bushings. And that fiber washer is a little different. And the segments actually come all the way up to the end. So if this was metal, or you put your metal shim on there first, it's going to short out. Always put the fiber washer down, then your shim. And so I hopefully this helps a little bit. And see, now that I know There's the notches inside the can that are on every motor pretty much. There's my positive side here, and I know it's got to be here. So I know it's going to sit like that, and the can has 0 timing. And there's a notch on the can. The Tamiya has an actual 0 on the can, and that's over here. That's a different story. So, Chris, I hope this helps a little bit. It's not hard to take them apart, clean them up, put them back together. We can go into more depth of how the timing works. I don't know much about the gauzes of the magnets, but I know there's a north and south magnet, but there's a positive and negative on the motor. North, south, positive, negative. I don't know. Timing, that's easy enough. Usually 0 timing is where the end bell screw is usually in line with the mounting tab screws on the can, or the other way to tell is the brushes are going to be in the middle of the magnets inside the can, so you could pretty much eyeball that. It'll get you close. So let me get out of here and let me go grab something, and I'll be right back. Okay, as you can see, I have Tamiya TZ motors in my Gray Edition clad, and I don't know if you can see this one motor. It's actually got set to 0 degrees. What I had to do is I had to cut the tabs off, set them at 0, then I take the one for the rear and I rotated the end bell 180. I did do a video on that, but I don't think it was all that clear of how I did it. So if you want to know, I could do another one. Doesn't make it much faster, but it does give it a lot more torque. Sometimes torque is good. Speed is fun, but it always breaks more parts that way. And yes, Chris over there, Chris and Zach at Tamiya Talk, I seen your sticker videos. I would love to have some, but I don't have stickers of my own, so I don't have any to send in return. Do people still do sticker walls and sticker shout outs? I know Derek or Dirk does once in a while. I don't know. All right, guys, that's it for me. I'm rambling. Tamiya motors have lock timing. Some modified motors, most all modified motors do not, so you can fully adjust it. Cleaning is very simple. You don't want to have anything that's going to eat plastic, be corrosive, and eat the coating off the winding itself in the motor, because then that's just going to create a short. So you have to be careful and pick and choose your cleaners carefully. Warm soapy water, sure, you could run it that way. Problem is that's just going to eat the brush, and the water's going to continue to stay black. You could probably do that completely until the brushes are completely gone. Then the water won't be dirty anymore, but the motor won't run. And that's all a water break-in does, is that it kind of cools and lubricates, but it's also very abrasive, so it's going to eat the brushes down. If you have an old brushed motor that have replaceable brushes, kind of like this one here, give it a shot. Put some brushes in it, stick it in the water, and run it. Measure your brushes. Brushes are generally, let me see here. These brushes here, clear that out. To clear that out. These brushes here are generally, come here, right in the center, about 9.3 millimeters. So these are relatively good. If they get down to about 7 millimeters, replace them. Yeah, they might look good, but believe me, they're going to cause you all kinds of problems. A hung brush is a symptom of a short brush, so the spring pressure is not as good. Another whole story, could also be dirt that can cause a hung brush. Talked about that. People suggested using a cotton swab or bud or Q-tip or whatever to clean them out. The brush hood where the brushes go. Anyway, I'm rambling. Tamiya BZ motor, TZ motor, RPM stand. The other thing is, if you're doing a break-in like this, and if you could find it, if you're running power, try to find a fan. All motors are going to spin counterclockwise. Just about 98% of RC car motors are going to spin counterclockwise. And with the fan on and 3 volts, it pulls air from in front of the can and blows it across it and keeps it cool. Good little trick. This one here cost me about 25 bucks because I broke the one I had. So they're not cheap and not easy to find. So with that, guys, I'm going to put this to a close. Hopefully this helps. There's all kinds of other things that we can get into. We can get into timing, centering the brush hoods. This is a timing stand here. It's got numbers on it, but they don't correlate very well with other motors with timing numbers on them. So it's all give and take. There's all kinds of stuff for motor maintenance. To each their own. Everybody has their own way. It's not hard to tear down a motor, clean it, and put it back together. Especially a Tamiya motor with lock timing. It's very simple and straightforward. So with that, guys, I'm going to close it out. Everybody have a good day, good night, good week, good month, good year, and a good life. And I'll catch you on the later. Hoorah.